Funny about that. You know who was asking about you the other day? Who's that? Nobody.
We talking about sports. Get ball.
What it do, baby?
Yeah. What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We are back at last. The number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee, has returned. We'll call it from paternity leave. I'm your host, Premal Bhatt, and I'm joined by my big cousin, my big bro, Roshan. Welcome, man.
What's good, baby? Welcome back from paternity leave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, number one podcast.
As you can see, I was not on your ass.
No,
that time.
I was the one that initiated this one.
Yes, sir.
So rest assured, I got you guys covered on this round, but appreciate the patience, you number one podcast listeners, but hopefully we'll be back to your regularly scheduled program. Without further ado, let's get started on FM or Not. We got a lot to cover since we've had about 2 months away. So
yeah.
First up, I felt like we didn't really need a FM or Not of this because I think you and I are both petty and
Petty alert. Petty alert.
general.
Petty
Yeah,
alert.
but the NFL playoffs are wrapped up. The more things try to change, the more they stay the same. The Kansas City Chiefs won their back-to-back Super Bowl. They defeated the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime. Before that, the Chiefs defeated the Ravens to get there, and the 49ers came back against the Detroit Lions, basically giving us a Super Bowl, the matchup nobody wanted. We wanted the opposite, and we got Chiefs and Niners. So, yeah, I mean, not more needs to be said. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, and here we are.
I don't know how he continues to do it.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more evident that he is really that guy. It's kind of hard not to just tip your cap. I mean, that roster, just looking at that roster, and then you look at San Fran's roster, you're like, there's no fucking way they're going to win. He tied the game, and as soon as you tied it, you knew. Every single person watching at home knew that no matter what happens for the rest of regulation, if this game goes into overtime, it's curtains.
Also, we didn't include this because we have a lot to cover, and you played yourself shocking. But you played yourself to the 49ers for not knowing the playoff overtime rules.
So insane.
Mahomes that shot.
Insane.
They kicked a field goal and basically assured the Chiefs the win by doing so. So anyway. Yeah, not much to cover there.
Yeah.
If you're not a Chiefs fan, you don't give a shit.
Petty is real. Might charge my ex for a feature.
So here we are, Team Snacks. You already know. All right, that moved us right into the NFL Combine, obviously. I feel like I ask this every year, Roche, but NFL Combine, do you care? Are you a yeah fan? Give me all the NFL draft coverage. Or nah, let's skip the underwear Olympics.
I love the underwear Olympics. That's hilarious. But I'm an absolute non-fan. I do not care to watch people work out. I never will. I don't think half that shit matters. I think it's cool to see people break the 40 record.
Yep.
But it seems like every year someone's faster than 2 years ago. So even that is like relatively unimpressive now, which is kind of stupid to admit. No matter what, I can't run a 40 in probably under 8 seconds, so shout out to them. These 30-plus-year-old knees can't do that, so great job working out, guys. Great compression underwear. Love to see that for y'all. Me, myself, no thank you.
I'm a yeah fan. I feel like I am every year, but the caveat is I would love to see more people work out. It feels like it's trending away from that. We had a brief change where everybody worked out a couple years ago, and now it went back to like there are some players not even doing their pro day. It used to be that they'd save their whole session for pro day. There's a few like can't miss prospects that decided I don't even need a pro day. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of them. Go Bucks alert, but I would have loved to see him do his pro day. And then I think Brock Bowers, at the tight end from Georgia, is the consensus top tight end. I don't think he's doing his pro day, which is odd to me. Now, granted, with Harrison Jr.'s particular case, there was even a quote last year when CJ Stroud had his pro day. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught for him, and I think the quote was something like, "It's like getting to test drive a Ferrari before it's out."
Mm-hmm.
They got to see Harrison Jr. work out then, and you're not going to see anything that you weren't already convinced of. But still, I like to see them do that, go through that process. But I'm all about draft coverage, so. Apparently, in my Dallas Cowboys fanhood, it's all I have to live for anyway. So
that's facts. I was literally about to say the same thing.
Yeah, more on that later. Tease alert. Stay tuned alert. Okay, what I wanted to say the most time for in the FM or nah is NFL free agency. And I think it's safe to say we're both the FM, especially you are this year. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, of course.
With free agency. But it's fun to see. I think most people like to see that move it and shake it in the league and seeing how teams get better or worse. But I wanted to cover a few of the big moves and then maybe just highlight one or two that you especially are FM or that you're not. The big moves, obviously I'm not going to cover all of them, but Chris Jones, speaking of Kansas City and the defending champs, a big reason was their defense this year. He re-signed with Kansas City for large money, like the largest ever for a non-QB, 5 years, $160 million. I won't outline all the numbers here. That's very look-upable by you, number one podcast listeners. Running back was a trendy moving position this offseason. Saquon Barkley went to the Eagles. Derrick Henry is a Baltimore Raven. Josh Jacobs went to Green Bay. Tony Pollard went from Dallas to Tennessee. Joe Mixon was kind of a surprise. Was going to get cut, but the Texans traded for him, so he's going to be in Houston. Austin Eckler went to Washington. Zach Moss went to Cincinnati. That's just to name a few, and there's still a few smaller names to go off the board. Obviously, the one that gets the most attention, QB, Kirk Cousins went to Atlanta. I think a lot of people were surprised by that move. They couldn't come to agreement with Minnesota, so on Kirk goes, and special shout out to Kirk Cousins. Whatever you think of him, that man knows how to make money. He's just good enough to get a whole bunch of guaranteed money. I think he's something crazy on to his like double-digit years of guaranteed money from Washington, playing under franchise tags, then on to Minnesota for a completely guaranteed deal, to now Atlanta. He has assured himself quite the checkbook and checking account. So shout out to him. He's in Atlanta now with that young core of skill players. Russell Wilson, we talked about that saga last time we had an episode. He did end up getting cut, and the Broncos are going to eat a whole lot of money. Speaking of, you played yourself. Russell Wilson ended up in Pittsburgh, so he's going to be in the Steelers for a steal of a contract. The Steelers are only paying him the minimum, I think $1.2 million, and the Broncos are paying him the rest. Gardner Minshew went to the Las Vegas Raiders, who also cut Jimmy G. Baker Mayfield signed back with Tampa Bay. I think it was a 3-year, $100 million deal. They could have completely lost everyone, but it seems like they're rolling again with a similar group because Mike Evans re-signed there too. And then a big note in free agency / offseason moves, there's still no movement on Justin Fields. And all these, if you're doing the math here, there aren't a lot of places left for him, if any. So kind of sucks for our guy and how the Bears have handled that situation. I mentioned one wide receiver move, Mike Evans staying. There weren't too many crazy ones, but the one of most financial note is Calvin Ridley going to the Titans. He signed a very big deal with them. I think it's $50 million guaranteed. It's like 4 years, $92 million. So he moves from Jacksonville to Tennessee. And then defense. Gotta give the major shout out. I mentioned the Texans having a good offseason.
Yes, sir.
Daniil Hunter signing with Houston gives them a formidable couple pass rushers to pair with their defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson Jr. I mean, what a move for Houston to get Daniil Hunter. He's still very young and has been very productive in his career in Minnesota. Brian Burns of the Carolina Panthers was traded to the Giants. Another, you played yourself. The Giants had an opportunity to get multiple first-round picks and an additional pick. I think the Rams offered it to him last year or the year before, and they held on to Brian Burns for whatever reason. I can't find one. Burns, they ended up trading him to the Giants for a second and a fifth-round pick. So ultimate, you played yourself, but he winds up on the Giants. Speaking of a great defensive line that he gets to add to. The biggest free agency mover financially was Christian Wilkins former Miami Dolphin, is a Las Vegas Raider. So he gets to join a line with Max Crosby. So we'll see how well they do for Antonio Pierce's squad. Then just a couple more notes before I get your take. It was a big free agency for running backs, and interesting enough, offensive guards. A bunch of them signed for big money. It seems like teams are putting a premium on that interior protection for quarterbacks, and I guess being able to move the line and then a lot of financial cuts to get under cap at the safety position. So a lot of safeties have moved locations. Some are still waiting to sign places, but some everyday starters are still out there that were cut from their previous team. So, okay, a lot to cover. I wrote this out, so I was prepared for it. So I'll go first before I get your take on a couple ones that catch your eye. And I have a feeling I know one. I'm a fan to all this. Obviously, I love the moving and shaking of rosters, like I mentioned. But I wanted to highlight an important note. This is from ESPN's Paul Hembekides. He tweeted the following. I looked at free agents spending across the last 10 offseason, plucked out top 3 spenders and bottom 3 spenders each year by guaranteed money. So the data set he's looking at is 60 total teams. The top spenders, so 30 of those teams, average a 2.1 win year-over-year jump. So 21 of those 30 teams improved their record, 2 had the same record, and 7 had a worse record. So a vast majority of teams improved their record by about 2 wins by spending a lot in free agency. Conversely, the bottom spenders, the other 30 teams, they average a dip of 1.4 wins year over year. 7 improved their record, 5 had the same, but 18 of them had a worse record after not being in the bottom 3 spend. Hembo tweeted, the takeaway is that winning the offseason does predict a year-over-year improvement, and losing it predicts the opposite. Number one podcast listeners, just remember this note when we get to You Played Yourself and you hear my frustration. That's all I'll say about this. Go ahead, man. Give me a couple moves that catch your eye, even if it wasn't ones I covered.
Absolutely, yeah, fam, to this entire free agency. I think there's just been, it seems like more movement than usual. I can't say that for certain. It just seems like maybe because like a lot of teams are swapping running backs and swapping quarterbacks. Like I think a lot of big moves were made, so maybe it seems more active. So love to see that. It feels like how the NBA kind of works every offseason, which you don't see in football that often. And just seeing like Kirk to Atlanta was a huge move. Just in general, I don't think a lot of people
very consequential, especially in their division.
Yeah, I think so too. So I mean, there's a lot of moves that I like. Obviously, for my own squad, I think the Texans are not just from my point of view, but I think consensus overall in the top 3 winners of free agency. Absolutely smashed their offseason. And if the draft is even half as good as it was last year, you can't tell me that this isn't a real Super Bowl contender. Because even on paper,
for sure.
Granted, they don't have Mahomes, but on paper, I would argue that we have a better team than the Chiefs.
I heard this comp, and you tell me if you agree. 2021 Bengals, Burrow, second year, on a rookie contract with all those skill players around.
Yes.
And that was the year they made the Super Bowl. So,
yes. I don't see any reason why they can't be that team. I think Stroud and Burrow have a very similar skill set too. I think our receivers are on par with, that 21 squad of Bengals receivers. Our tight ends are better. We got better defensive players. We got a better line. So, I mean, it's really
a very winnable division.
A dog shit division overall. We won last year.
The Titans got better, but quarterback's still a big question.
Sure.
The Jags definitely got worse.
Yeah, Jags are worse.
And Colts didn't really make an impact one way or another. And, Richardson's coming off an injury.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Colts' success is contingent on if Richardson is actually any good. We didn't really see that big of
And
a
can stay
sample.
healthy.
Yeah, big sample size last year, and
Worth noting, they did get Flacco as their backup. So.
Minshew kind of carried that team. So to that note, great pickup for Las Vegas. I think picking up Minshew is a good bridge quarterback for now. So I think there's a lot of moves. I think the Bucks had a really good free agency, mainly because they kept most of their players, which I think is always like underrated. You always want to keep those guys in house, and they didn't seem to like really overpay on a lot of them. I mean, I'm sure living in Florida is pretty nice. But yeah, I think the worst move is for sure Kirk Cousins. He's good. I think he's good, but I just don't think that fit makes a lot of sense for him. That's a very young core, very athletic, fast core, and Kirk is literally everything but that. I think he's going to do fine. I just, personally thought they should have went a little younger, particularly Justin Fields, but they would have probably saved a little money too doing that. But we'll see how Kirk does. 35-year-old Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles tear, giving him $100 million plus guaranteed is pretty batshit to me.
While you had potentially Justin Fields sitting out there as well, which would have fit your youth movement there.
Yeah,
been able to build
for sure
together. But anyway, I guess time will tell.
Yeah, I think also I think the Bengals are another team that had a pretty bad offseason. They lost Mixon to the Texans.
They did get. They
T.
did get
Higgins
Geno
is demanding
Stone
a
at
trade.
safety, who's been very good. But
yeah.
I mean, they have now. I don't necessarily disagree with any of the moves they made. I think Mixon's days were numbered. I didn't think they should franchise tag Higgins. I thought they should have let him walk anyway, because if you think about that core, you're not going to pay 2 wide receivers. It very rarely works in the NFL. And obviously, if you're going to pick between them, you're picking Jamar Chase. You're going to have to pay Burrow, continue to pay Burrow.
Absolutely.
So your priority's got to be in those 2 positions, and I don't think it's a recipe for success to pay 2 receivers. So
yeah,
I thought if there's a second round pick out there for T. Higgins, I don't know what I would think they're calling the Carolina Panthers right now. I know the Panthers traded for Deontay Johnson, but the Panthers just picked up an extra 2. You're telling me you're not calling them right away and saying, hey, can we have one of those 2s for T. Higgins, and you got yourself a deal?
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer for both of them. So, and then the Bengals can focus on getting a rookie wide receiver too, or some other skill players. But yeah, I agree with you. There's some teams that are just like on the cusp, and you wanted them to make just those moves to get over the hump, and they didn't. And then others made some weird moves. I'm kind of iffy on Washington's moves. They made a lot of moves in free agency, but I don't know that any of them make a huge difference.
A lot of non-needle moving moves for sure.
I like the running back moves. I hate that Saquon went to the Eagles. I don't know how the Eagles keep getting away with continuing to spend on people. I don't know where they get this money from and why every other team isn't mimicking what they're doing somehow. But I mean, that's going to be crazy to watch. I'll be interested to see how their strategy changes having Saquon, because they've tried kind of paying a little bit to running backs, and now they're kind of investing big into one. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway,
you also have those teams who didn't do much and probably should have. We'll get to one of those later. I think one of the other ones is the Bills. I think the Bills might have actually closed their window just by not doing anything.
They were extremely strapped by the cap. But they didn't even really get creative.
Yeah, they didn't get creative. I think of 2 teams, one for each, and we're going to cover one of those later. Tease alert.
I wonder who that is.
Stay tuned alert.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, any guesses? Any guesses, guys?
Have you ever been... have you ever been disappointed by something and that becomes the expectation? I don't know, just saying. Can't relate.
For real.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to quickly cover one more thing, and I think it deserves attention, so that's why I want to get a quick take from each of us on this. Caitlin Clark, obviously legendary career, all-time leading scorer, college basketball, overall, women's and all of basketball, the history books.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about Caitlin Clark at this point, so I'm not going to say anything new. But this per Michael Mulvihill. Women's college basketball is now averaging a bigger audience than the men's game on Fox. 981,000 to 946,000 viewers. Women's college basketball overall is up 60% across all networks. Yafem Murnah, are you buying her impact on the court? And she has announced that she's going to declare for the WNBA draft. So are you buying the immediate impact in the WNBA next year? And also, like, in addition to Yafem Murnah, has she made you tune in?
Good question. I think overall, one, she did. I don't really watch a lot of college basketball in general. I did tune in to see the record-breaking game. You just kind of one of those things where you just want to be there for it and be like, all right, I gotta check this out and see it happen in real time. You know, when you get older and you're like looking back and be like, yeah, I was there for that. Like, that's cool. Like, you see like your parents and old heads always like reminiscing on that shit, and like as you get older, I can't explain it. If there's any young podcast listeners out there, you'll understand one day. One day it's going to click and you're like, I would love to see LeBron break the scoring record. I would love to see Caitlin Clark break the scoring record. Like, just so you can like tell someone, oh yeah, I saw that on TV. Because you've heard it all your life. You just don't realize anything. Anyway, back to what I'm saying is her impact on the court is huge. I think she's getting commercials. She's getting Nike ads. She's easy to market. She's flashy. Has a incredibly sweet jumper that splashes through the net. Like, you know, she gets to be the female version of Steph Curry and in her own league, and she's going to dominate the WNBA. It's not going to make me tune into the WNBA, no offense, but I think it's great for the game. I think it's hilarious that they got more viewers than men's basketball because, I mean, I watched more Caitlin Clark games than men's basketball games this year outside of my own team. So go Clark.
Yeah.
No, I won't say go Hawks.
So I'm a FM to this too. It's hard not to be. It's cool to see the women's sport grow this much and people have that much attention on it. I think I've seen Indiana Fever have the number one pick and their season tickets like skyrocketed like crazy. They sold out everything you can. So it's cool to see that impact. I have tuned in a bunch, way more. And part of that's circumstantial. I'm an Ohio State fan. We number one podcast listeners know that. The men's team has stunk this year, and Ohio State women's team has done really well this year. In fact, they beat Iowa once in Columbus. They split the season, but Ohio State women's team won the regular season Big Ten title. Iowa's women's team won the tournament title, but those two things kind of like, it's fun to root against an all-time player, but still appreciate her greatness. I also wanted to add this because number one podcast listener, Alex Lopez, has a take on this, and he's a fellow Buckeye fan, number one podcast listener, so let's hear from him.
First-time caller, love the show. This is good for Am I Hating? But am I hating on Caitlin Clark? She shouldn't be in the same category as Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete is an icon, and he didn't have a three-point line when he was shooting. Love the show. Michigan still sucks, and they cheated.
Petty alert.
Love it.
Petty alert.
So
Petty
Alex
alert.
sent me that clip. If you number one podcast listeners know how to get a hold of me, I'm always welcome to featuring you on the episode. So be like Alex and be a number one podcast listener and be featured on an episode like he just was. So I dig the take, dig the pettiness. You already know, number one podcast.
Look, I stay petty, so I don't have to get
Okay.
petty.
That covers Yafem Murnah. We covered a lot in a little bit of time, but you already know why you're here. Let's hit that You Played Yourself, baby.
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty.
Here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
All right, you number one podcast listeners, we know why you tuned in. We got a lot to cover on You Played Yourself, but before I get started, Rush, did you want to kick us off? Do you have something to start us and get us back in the You Played Yourself mode?
Oh yeah, you know, we always need like a little warm up, right? But as always, you played yourself, the GOAT
Yeah,
of you
first
played
team.
yourself, if you will. Aaron Rodgers.
Who?
Yeah, first team, all GOAT, all pro, anything, all the superlatives you want. Aaron Rodgers just reminded us again. We're not going to dive too deep into it. We're just like making sure you know that he always belongs here. He always has a home here. He always has a seat at the table of you played yourself. Between the vice presidency talk for Robert F. Kennedy as an independent candidate and the alleged Sandy Hook conspiracies, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention him where he belongs. And, you know, he's already gone on Twitter today and was like, he released a statement about the Sandy Hook and, like, just a very obvious PR message. He must have seen the lawsuit that Alex Jones was handed in reference to this and was like, hey, let's not do that. So, good call, Aaron Rodgers. You're still here, though. You played yourself forever and always.
Just when we thought we could skip an episode with him, he finds a way back in.
Yeah, I told you, I'm like, he's very clutch.
Yep.
We didn't have him in the episode, and as of this morning, he's in it. So, way to be clutch.
Okay.
Great.
It's a good warm-up. You already get the vibes here, you number one podcast listeners. So, first up on You Played Yourself, I got NFL fanhood on You Played Yourself. So, the more we pretend things change, the more things just stay the same in the NFL. Let's see. In the playoffs, the Bills kicker missed wide right. The Cowboys choked in the playoffs. Chiefs made the AFC Championship every year. Chiefs beat the Bills. Packers beat the Cowboys. 49ers beat the Packers. Stop me if you've heard all of those before in the history of the NFL, let alone the recent history. All those are repeat items. So the more things we try to change or root for as fans, the more is inevitable. The Chiefs won, and there is still a pecking order in the NFL. The more the Cowboys tried, the less they can beat the Packers. Doesn't matter who's their quarterback. The Packers try to beat the 49ers. They never can. Doesn't matter who's their quarterback, who's the coach, whatever. Also, think about this. If you, sorry to bring you guys down in my return after 2 months, but there are a significant amount of new football fans who are Swifties who became fans of the sport about 6 months ago. Those fans' favorite team has already won more Super Bowls than most of our teams have in decades of watching this sport. Think about that. What freaking clowns we all are. These people just got into the sport. They've already won it all. Meanwhile, we're falling for the same fucking tricks by our favorite teams over and over again, some of which haven't won at all. Others, raising my hand here, haven't won in 3 decades. So, what freaking clowns we are, man. You played yourself goes to us.
Speak for yourself, bro. The Texans will be the 2024 Super Bowl champs. You know? Stroud boys, stand back and stand by. Let's get it, baby. Football is alive.
Well,
all right?
It is for
Football
one of us.
is alive. At least for one of us. Yeah, at least for one of us. Jinx.
Okay. Want to cover this one real quick. There's more NBA to come. Once the draft kind of winds down, there'll be plenty of NBA to talk about. But I did want to do a You Played Yourself to the NBA All-Star Weekend, specifically the Slam Dunk Contest. That event used to be prime time, and it's slowly fallen. Part of it I recognize is every dunk's been done now, it feels, so it's hard to figure out new things. But there needs to be a bigger winning pool so that it entices players that should be in the dunk contest to be in it. And I do not think it'll be a legit contest until we see people like Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, and Anthony Edwards back in the dunk contest. You know, players who are the best dunkers in the league used to covet that prize, and slowly, and I hate to say this because we love LeBron here, but ever since LeBron started in the league and never did a dunk contest, it kind of has been downhill since. We haven't had the best players compete in it since then. So I'm whatever regarding switching back to East and West, but I also, another You Played Yourself, bring back the Elam ending, that system that created a game-winning shot. That was a lot of fun. So I thought they didn't need to nix that part, but they did anyway, and I think the game itself. Anyway, all right, quickly, number one podcast listeners, if you're a video game player, you no doubt have heard by now that the NCAA football video game is coming back. They've given college football players the option to opt into the game so that they'll be featured, and they get compensated. I believe it's $600 each for being in the game, and they get a copy of the video. Famous quarterback who's at Texas, famous family too, Arch Manning, decided he's opting out of the video game. ESPN's Mark Schlabach revealed that Manning decided not to be part of the franchise because a source said that he wanted to wait until he was, quote, till he was the guy at Texas. Over 10,000 players have already opted into the game. What the fuck does being the guy have to do with a video game? Like, if you opt into a video game, you don't have time to be the next quarterback at Texas or don't have time for practice. Just because you opt into it doesn't mean you have to play the game, right? Arch Manning, for as big of a prospect as he is, he's done a great job at staying as much under the radar as he can. But this is the stupidest, hey, look at me reason that I've heard of. So you played yourself, Ghost. No one's exempt, obviously.
Yeah, to add on that, I think this whole thing is really stupid just because I think it's having adverse effects of what, like, he intends. So let's say he becomes that guy next year when Ewers goes to the NFL, and he sucks. This quote is gonna come back and bite him, and it's like, I was gonna wait till I was that guy. What if he never becomes that guy? Don't ever play yourself years in advance, buddy. The internet is a brutal place, and no one's ever gonna let you forget that shit. Let me tell you for sure.
We don't.
I know we don't. We remember that stuff, and we don't remember anything. So
now we pretend some of our bad takes we never said them, but other people's for sure we keep tabs.
Oh, I never said it.
Never.
Bad takes. What do you mean bad takes?
Never had one in my life. I'll let you know if I ever do.
Never had one. Yeah, never had one.
Okay, you played yourself NFL awards. Their new voting process led to Joe Flacco getting comeback player of the year instead of Damar Hamlin. I mean, I think it speaks for itself that they deserve a you played yourself for that. It was Damar Hamlin had the most first place votes, but because of all of Flacco's second place votes and elsewhere, he ended up winning it over Damar Hamlin. That you played yourself writes itself.
I mean, the man might not have had like a great year stat wise or like filled up the stat sheet, but he has one stat that no one else had. Bro literally died on the field, and in under a year he was back on the field. As far as I'm concerned, there's never been a literal, like, this man came back from the dead. How are you not a comeback player of the year? That's like fucking insane.
Probably what this award should have been meant for, maybe. I don't know.
At the end of the year, it's a relatively sentimental award anyway. It's usually given to someone who like had a tough year or like something bad happened or whatever. Like, you came back from injury typically, not some old bitch who won a Super Bowl having a good year for the Browns. Who cares?
All that he overcame.
No offense, Flacco.
All that he overcame with it, sitting in his
no offense.
Nice house getting signed.
Yeah, with your hundreds of millions of dollars.
Maybe they took that term signed off the street literally. Like, no, he probably is in a really nice house. He didn't come back from poverty, guys.
He signed off a 12 bedroom house. Yeah, he's fine. And while we're on the NFL awards, by the way, D'Amico Ryans deserved Coach of the Year. I'm not trying to hear anything different. I think they tied with Stefanski, but
Stefanski had like more first place votes or something. I think that was a tiebreaker.
I mean, has there ever been a rebuild this quick? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Whatever.
It's all right. If they win the Super Bowl, it's all good anyway, right?
Still whooped them in the playoffs.
Petty alert. Petty alert.
Yeah,
Petty
still whooped
alert.
them in the playoffs. It's fine.
All right, so you number one podcast listeners, I'm not naive. I know why you showed up here. I don't want to rob y'all of my Cowboys choke reaction. I knew it would happen, Roche. You were here and heard me. I told people around me it would happen, and people are like, no, you're just being... Why are you being so pessimistic?
I tried, bro. I tried.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys never cease to amaze me how much they can disappoint me. And now I'm numb to it, so that's why I expected it. But the manner at which they were dominated by the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round, I could not have predicted. I won't pretend to you that I knew that was going to happen. To make things worse, you'd assume they'd make a coaching change, right? No playoff success to show for anything. Yes, they've won in the regular season, but follows the same script every year. They do well in the regular season, but they flounder in the playoffs. Oh, and let's add that the greatest coach of all time in NFL history became available in the coaching cycle. So, like, it's not as if there wasn't a candidate out there. Surely the Jones family, you can't stick with the guy you've been hinting might get replaced for years in Mike McCarthy, right? Wrong. Jerry Jones, despite every potential prediction, decided to stick with Mike McCarthy. And the one thing that he's proven for sure, him being Jerry Jones, is that he is not committed to winning a Super Bowl like he says he is. And if you've been paying attention, it's been that way. He's pulled the same move before, and you don't even need to go back that far. Look at the previous two head coaches. He held on to Wade Phillips so long that he made one of his rare moves, an in-season firing. Then that coach, Jason Garrett, he kept, for all intents and purposes, on for a lame duck season. Does that sound familiar? A lame duck season. Might be what we're heading into right now with Mike McCarthy. And now a fourth season with Mike McCarthy. This franchise is never going to win again because of this family running it. And an important note, those people that expect Jerry Jones to make big splash moves, he's proven over 35 seasons that he doesn't. Because in his entire 35 seasons as the owner, all but two coaches he's employed have made it into a fourth season. The two that didn't, Chan Gailey and Dave Campo, got 2 and 3 years respectively. He's never canned a person early, basically. He doesn't have a quick trigger like everybody assumes he does. He literally sticks with people too long to the detriment of the team. And as everybody's acutely aware of, in a large chunk of that 35 years, the franchise has been absolute trash in the postseason. I am telling you that this family is never going to allow success for their team. I'm starting to run out of reasons to explain things or why the postseason didn't happen. There's just this aura, this negative energy about that facility that will always prevent them from winning. They're the only common denominator for the Cowboys' allergies to prosperity over the last 2 to 3 decades. And then we get to free agency. We just outlined above, and we've hinted at this whole time. The Dallas Cowboys for 2 days made no signings. They were the last team to make a single free agency signing. And you would have thought, oh, wouldn't they be doing everything they can? He stuck with this coach. They got a quarterback who's taking all this flack. And then their owner says something like, we're going all in. Only to do fucking absolutely nothing in the offseason. Nothing to show for the moves he's made. No plan. Not one thing. Not committed to a rebuild. Not signing people in this fucking lame-ass limbo that's gonna squarely result in all the blame falling at Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott's feet. The two people he put in that position when he didn't have to. Continually, this ineptitude is proven by this Jones family. They have no idea what they're doing, but as long as they're making money, who gives a fuck, right? Who cares about the fans? We don't care. We're making money. People are talking about us. What the fuck does anything else matter? And that's become abundantly clear. So, number one podcast listeners that are not familiar with what the Dallas Cowboys do, that always makes them in this position every year where they're not big spenders, or we're twiddling our thumbs waiting for them to make a single. They find themselves cap strapped seemingly every offseason because they sign these huge contracts and they come to roost in these big cap hits. Now, you can lessen a cap hit by extending contracts. Namely, right now, Dak Prescott has a huge cap hit. I think the highest in the league. But the Cowboys, what they do, instead of extending those contracts and not playing any games with them, they dilly-dally and lowball their own players and take forever in re-signing them. Meanwhile, all these other teams scoop up all the free agencies. So they find themselves in bad contracts. They take forever. They still sign them to longer contracts instead of just committing to a rebuild. And then they miss out on all these free agencies because they did that strategy. And you would think, oh, they might have tried the opposite, right? Like maybe they're trying something new. No. It hasn't worked for 30 years. 30 fucking years, guys. This family continually blows smoke up our ass every year saying things like we're all in, like Jerry Jones. Then they employ the definition of insanity. They do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Or maybe they don't expect a different result and secretly they know this shit's going to happen, because that's the only explanation I have for this continual insistence on employing the same strategy that has not been successful in the least. They have not one fucking thing, one silver lining to show for anything in the last 2 to 3 decades. And they keep doing the same thing over and over again. And us fans are the clowns who consume it, knowing full well Jerry Jones is not serious about winning. He's just not. You don't fire a coach, you don't extend a contract with your QB, and then you follow both up by not spending any money. And we're supposed to expect a better result? Like I said, he's so clearly setting up the failure to fall with McCarthy and Dak. And even if he was doing that, if that was the case, why then would you keep McCarthy? And why would you say something like we're all in instead of we being honest and saying we might be rebuilding? Why? Because it's Jerry fucking Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. That's why. This man cannot stand not being talked about. Forget winning. As long as we're talking about him in the media and he makes money, what the fuck does he care? He says all the right things. Sometimes he says the really wrong things, but he tries to claim they're about winning. But every action he employs proves the exact opposite. And here we are year after year, sopping it up and talking about these fucking idiots while they underperform every year. Listen, I know I'm falling for it, but you number one podcast listeners know by now, I don't have expectations. They won't fool me into them, but my pain is your enjoyment, so I'm here for you, number one podcast listeners. I didn't want to rob you of that entire synopsis of end of last season into this off season. You Played Yourself goes to the Dallas Cowboys, but more so, You Played Yourself goes to us fans, because here we are fucking falling for it year after year. Did I deliver, Rush?
Yeah, that's pretty good. You didn't get as mad as I thought you were, but that almost just drives the point home a little further that you're just like truly beaten up by this. I do have like a couple of questions. Like, whenever you said like he has this like persona of a quick trigger or whatever, I was wondering about that too. Where does anyone get that from?
I have no idea.
And I was like, I thought about it because I hear it come up all the time. Like, he doesn't tolerate this and he won't stand for this. But that's legitimately all he's ever done. Especially for the last, like, my adult life has been making fun of the Cowboys. And no matter what, there's never been a year where you like, they might be contenders, but no one ever actually thinks that they're going to win the Super Bowl. And I think with Jerry Jones, you're like, sometimes he says the right thing, sometimes he says the wrong thing. I think he just says the things. He definitely just likes to hear himself talk. He needs the impressions, and he knows that at the end of the day, it puts dollars in his pocket and his family's pocket. So he does what he does best. He does what he does better than general managing a team. He does what he does best better than owning a team, which is talking. He's a professional yapper. He's fluent in Japanese. This man cannot shut the fuck up. And he constantly says things that are hilariously bad. Like, the all-in thing is I will say, though, him saying the all-in thing gave us a wonderful Skip Bayless tweet where he said, all in, comma, my ass. And shout out to that comma. If you go through the comments, everyone's in the comments dropping memes on what that comma is doing, and that comma is definitely doing the Lord's work. So shout out Skip Bayless. Shout out Jerry Jones. You fucking doofuses. I don't have any answers for you, but the Texans bandwagon is always open, brother.
I know, man. I think I've said this on this podcast very recently. I don't want this for my kids.
That seat is always going to be warm as long as CJ Stroud is there, bro.
Hopefully he balls out. I want that for you. I'm gonna live vicariously through you guys. So, because I know it's not happening for me in my lifetime. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's move on to our non-sports candidates for You Played Yourself. I love doing this because it's our opportunity to get a few things off our chest. So, do you have one for us before I get going on mine?
I do, actually.
All right, go for it.
I have one prepared, actually. My non-sports You Played Yourself this week is dogs at the grocery store. I know this might sound like a foreign concept to a lot of people in different parts of America, but let me explain. Look, man, I love my dog. Shout out to Penny. She's sitting right behind me. Bringing dogs to the grocery stores like they're some kids is some Austin shit I can't get behind. Austin, Texas is very dog friendly, which I do love. You can pretty much bring your dog to Target. You can bring them anywhere, literally. Any bar, any restaurant. They're pretty generally cool with it as long as they have a patio. But I don't even like kids at the grocery store. And no offense to the parents out there. Kids are a lot at grocery stores. It's very hectic. And some of you are really putting these bitches, dogs, not kids, bitches in the grocery cart, and you're not really watching them. I know they're licking the produce. I don't want dog-ass tongue on my gala apples. Leave your dogs at home. I just don't. They were licking their ass, and I don't want that on my apples. So, dogs at the grocery store, get the fuck out of here. That's insane.
Next thing you know, you got to shop at all the higher produce. You can't get anything at cart level.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. They ride them around in their carts like they're kids. It's fucking insane.
Dog-friendly city, but I don't think I've ever seen
very weird.
Seen a non-service dog in a grocery store before here. So
I'll send you a picture next time I see one. Yeah.
Okay. Mine's kind of non-sports. It's kind of logistically non-sports. I know it's not a new take and it's an absolute no-brainer, but the President's holiday should come after Super Bowl Sunday. Move the holiday up, move the Super Bowl back, whatever. I think it's ridiculous that Super Bowl Sunday goes right into a work week. And more importantly, like being a parent now, I think about in a few years, I know my son's already into football, so I'm not going to prevent him from watching the Super Bowl because it's the biggest football event of the year. He's going to be completely dead tired at school the next day. So it needs to be a holiday.
Yeah.
And I got to do this one again because I've seen it a lot more. The if you know, you know, the IYKYK abbreviation. Guys, what the fuck is the point of posting if you know, you know, when you could just send it to the people who do know? Like, is it it's clearly just hater vision, but like, why the fuck do we need... It's such a fucking pet peeve of mine. If you know, you know. Yeah, I don't. So why the hell are you posting it? What is the fucking point of it? Just to show that you're exclusive? Cool. Mission accomplished. Now nobody likes you.
That's pretty good, man.
All right. That wraps up You Played Yourself. Hopefully I delivered for you, number one podcast listeners. Let's move on to Am I Hatin'? Statements we know are clearly hatin', but we're going to say them anyway. Rosh, you got an Am I Hatin'?
I do, actually, and a lot of people are not going to like me for this, but am I hatin' if I think Killers of the Flower Moon is a dog shit movie?
Ooh, hot take. Oscar Best Picture nominee, by the way.
Best Picture, it should have been in the Worst Picture nominee. Let me tell you. Listen, man, I'm not going to be fooled by all this meat writing that this movie's getting. The movie was very obviously bloated, boring, and pointless. Let me finish. I understand that the atrocities that were committed to Native Americans is one thing, and understanding them is one thing. But having them front and center to a movie for 3.5 hours with no real plot other than being a bunch of like trauma porn just didn't do it for me, man. Shout out to Lily Gladstone, by the way, on her performance. She was amazing. She definitely got robbed. But that movie sucks. And it's time for Martin Scorsese to retire. And get ready to learn SAG retirement, buddy. By the way, he's 81. He's 16 years older than the necessary age to retire. So please hang it up, pal. I've had enough of your 3.5 hour movies. The Departed was the last good one. I'll give it to Wolf of Wall Street, but the last truly like generational movie to me was The Departed.
Yeah, if you compare long movies, the one that won Best Picture, Oppenheimer, didn't feel like it was that long, where Killers of the Flower Moon felt as long.
I'm not gonna lie, man. It took me 2 sittings to watch Killers, and
that's most people I've talked to felt the same way.
Yeah, I dreaded every minute. I was like, when's this movie gonna be over? It was stupid. I watched it because of all the hype, and I was like, maybe it's gonna pan out. Maybe it's gonna pan out. No, it shit's ass.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite of the batch. Oppenheimer was my favorite, and I think it's good reason it won a whole bunch. But My am I hating is the people out there who are always doing the most on weekends, like, and then they post about their ideal weekend is doing nothing the one time they do it. Like, oh my gosh, perfect night and relaxing. Fam, no one made you go out the other 51 weekends of the year, but you're not fooling us. You are absolutely not fooling us that this is not your perfect weekend, but it is the equivalent of if you know, you know, level look at me is posting about you staying in while hoping you were out. You can't fool us. Am I hating? Probably, but no regrets.
I think everyone has those people on their
Yeah.
what you call it, timelines or whatever. I have a few myself. Just
sure.
you know.
All right, let's move on to who you got, what you feeling. There isn't much to recap. Last episode we had NFL playoff picks. They were kind of all over the place, so not really worth recapping too much.
Yeah.
The Chiefs won. Hopefully they don't win 3 in a row. That has never been done before, so we'll see what happens. I don't think anybody's going to make the mistake of having hot takes and saying they're out of contention at any point, though. So at least that part's fine.
Yeah. Let's all learn our lesson. That's one thing to be learned. Let's not count them out ever all year, and maybe they'll lose.
Look, I stay petty,
Exactly.
so I don't have to get petty.
Wishful thinking. Okay. NFL coaching carousel. We talked a little about the openings last time, but I wanted to get your pick for best hire and worst hire. So real quick, recapping them. The Tennessee Titans hired former Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.
Who?
The Commanders hired former Dallas defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Seahawks hired Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. Panthers Dave Canales.
Who?
Bucks offensive coordinator. Raiders kept Antonio Pierce, who is their interim coach. The Falcons hired Raheem Morris, who's the Rams defensive coordinator. Patriots, after mutually ending the tenure of Bill Belichick, promoted Gerard Mayo, who's their linebacker coach. And then the LA Chargers hired former that team up north coach Jim Harbaugh, aka you want to hit him with the nickname? I like this.
Harbozo, baby.
What it do, baby?
Okay.
Jim Harbozo.
So rapid fire, best hire, worst hire.
Ooh, honestly, I don't think any of these like really move the needle much, but I think the two that I would toss up are probably Dan Quinn, Raheem Morris. I think they mainly because like Dan Quinn is going to get a new quarterback, so he's likely to do much better than the team did last year just by default of Washington's record this year. But I think Raheem Morris coming into the Falcons, he's going to be a pretty good pick. But I don't really think I think the worst move would probably be the Panthers because they've done nothing but make the worst moves. So I don't really.
That's a rough job.
Yeah, that's a brutal job, and this guy's coming into his job as a relatively new name, and it almost feels like what the Texans did by setting up David Culley that one year. Something stinks about it, and I don't know. I don't trust him. Yeah. I also think Harbaugh is a great hire for LA. I think it's good for Herbert most of all. He's not going to have to throw the ball 50 times anymore.
I agree with you. Best hire, Morris. He finally gets another head coaching job, and they're actually setting him up for success. So it's a nice situation now that they added Cousins. Canales is going into a tough situation. That's a tough job. But let's sound it. Worst hire, Harbaugh. He's getting too much love. He's a consensus pick for best hire. Nah, we hating all day. So put it this way: they better win, and he better improve Herbert because listen, let's put Herbert on watch here. We talk a lot about how good he is, but he has nothing to show for it. For as much hate as someone like Dak Prescott gets, which trust me, I'm not scared to do that. It's time we start putting Justin Herbert on notice. He's skated by quite a bit. So
you heard it here first, Justin Herbert. You are on pack watch, sir.
So, congratulations, you played yourself.
Smoking that Herbert pack.
Real quick, which one surprised you more? Which big name no hire surprised you more? Bill Belichick not getting a job or Mike Vrabel not getting a job?
That's a brutal question. I think they're honestly tied. They are both. If you tell me that entire list of people who got hired, both Belichick and Vrabel are better choices in all 8 of those. How the fuck they didn't get a job? It almost makes you think like maybe Belichick and Jerry Jones talked or something, and they're like, hey, we're going to give McCarthy one more year, and then you're the guy. You down? Don't take the Falcons job. That's, to me, that's the only plausible explanation for Belichick not getting hired. I just can't. Not that Belichick would go to the Panthers, but they're not even in the talks to hire him, and they hired Dave Canales. Like, come on, man. I don't get all that. But I think I'm more surprised about Belichick overall. I think Vrabel is going to end up back in college, like we've talked about offline. So we'll see.
I was going back and forth with this one too. I think I'm more surprised by Vrabel because I know Belichick's going to be a specific hire, like a team that's got to be ready and ready for his personality and him kind of shaking up things. And he can be choosy. I'm kind of surprised by Vrabel because he's proven track record and he's still like could still fit within any kind of company model.
He's won and he's rebuilt, so there's no way Belichick's coming into a rebuild. Yeah, that's a great point.
And he was Belichick kind of, the writing was on the wall that they were going to go separate ways, but Vrabel was like a surprise firing. So, I mean, people were talking about like, why didn't they try to trade the coach even? So I think that's what caught me.
And then you hired the Bengals OC to replace him. I was like, this is not a step up by any chance.
No, I don't think so either. But maybe it fits better with like the rebuild.
Possible.
Mode. I don't know. All right, so let's move on to what you feeling before we wrap up with too much sense here. So obviously, what I'm feeling is my son Otis was born just over a month ago.
Yes, sir.
So let's just say your boy's been very happy, but also with that, your boy's been pretty tired. And I'm trying to do better about not drinking too many energy drinks. The coffee wears out, but I don't know if you've heard of this, but lately I've been really feeling these little shots called Magic Mind. Have you had it, Rosh?
Mm-hmm. I have actually. They're pretty good, man.
Yeah. They taste pretty good. So instead of drinking that much iced coffee or an energy drink to have energy, now I drank this little shot every morning, and I'm good to go. I feel way better in the morning, and it sustains my overall happiness and energy for the day for these two sons that are full of energy. And I love my iced coffee. It's a lifestyle, obviously, but these things are nice and convenient.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little too addicted to the iced coffee to give that up fully. Yeah. But I definitely have had less caffeine intake these past few weeks, and it helps like the grogginess of the morning. Just because coffee is like such a stimulant, so you get a little ramped up pretty quick. So these things are a little less jarring. Which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and worth noting, I've had it with coffee, and it doesn't like make you too overly amped. It can be treated like a supplement too, which is
sure.
Nice. And then better than that, like I mentioned, energy drinks, but it has all natural ingredients. It's sourced from the best suppliers. No sugar. It's nut free for those of you that have allergies. If you're vegan or keto or paleo, it's friendly to all those. I had it the last week straight, and it's been nice. I've been feeling pretty good. So
yeah, they actually taste good too. So it's not like like when something like tastes like the inside of a celery stalk or some nasty shit. It has this kind of like pineapple vibe to it. So
yeah, it does have like it kind of tastes like a mini shot of like a green smoothie if you've ever had one of those, I think.
Yeah.
So number one podcast listeners, whether it's kids, work, or just life, we all need a boost of that clean energy. And I personally recommend you try it. You can get it at magicmind.com. That's magicmind.com/Prem Brulee. You already know how to spell that. And just for you all, if you enter the code BRULEE20, that's BRULEE 20, you can get up to 56% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. That's BRULEE20, BRULEE 20, the number's 20, for up to 56% off. And it also works if you're already a Magic Mind person like I am. If you're already a subscriber, you can save on your next subscription payment. So that code works. It's not just for new customers. So we love to hear that.
Shit, so I can use that code too.
Yeah, man. Have at it. So You number one podcast listeners, if you're having trouble being at 100% some days too, I would really encourage you try it. Magic Mind out. You know I wouldn't steer the number one podcast listeners wrong, so go check it out. It's magicmind.com/Prem Brulee, PremBrulee, and enter discount code Brulee20 for up to 56% off a subscription. If I were you, I'd get the 30-pack. I'm all about value, so think about it per item. It's the best value.
Yeah, as Indian people, it's in our blood to find the value, bro.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. All right, you number one podcast listeners, let's wrap up this episode with Too Much Sense. Let's hit that intro. All right, my Too Much Sense for this episode is for you number one podcast listeners to assume people's best intention when they tell you something. If it's someone you trust and important in your life, assume what they're telling you is with the best and purest of intentions. If you're doing the opposite, if it's you who is assuming the worst intentions with everybody, consider forcing yourself to do the opposite and see how it turns out. If you're finding yourself assuming bad intentions with a specific person all the time, evaluate whether it's best that that person stays in your life. But outside of that, if people are good to you in your life, assume that they have the best intentions even when they're telling you something you might not want to hear.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, you number one podcast listeners, that wraps it up for our return episode after my paternity leave. I've been your host, Premal Bhatt. It's been my co-host, Roshan Bhatt, the number one podcast.
Yes, sir. Another one in the books,
Yes,
baby.
sir. The number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee is back. And we will talk to you next time.
Peace.